Hey everyone, welcome back to Make It Happen Mondays, where we talk about sales, business, entrepreneurship, personal growth, mental health, and everything in between with guests who I truly respect and I think make a positive impact on the world around us. Today's conversation is with Jonathan Lister. He's the COO at Vidyard and is a product-oriented global B2B go-to-market executive with deep experience in SaaS and digital media. He has helped build and run multiple billion-dollar organizations, including LinkedIn, where he was the VP of Global Sales Solutions for over a decade. And so this was a great conversation on a lot of different levels. Business acumen-wise, you're all going to learn something here, right? As the COO of Vidyard, I actually started with his background, but also give us a little insight on what a COO does. And he broke it down on a couple of different levels. He's an actual GTM COO. And for those of you who don't know, there are different types of COOs out there and what they do. So he explained that a little bit. So if any of you are going after COOs, you're going to get some insight here. Also, we talked about what he actually responds to from a prospecting standpoint and how to get meetings with him, but then dove into the whole AI conversation because Vidyard, for those of you who don't know, is a video platform where you can send videos and prospecting to your existing customers and net new ones. And they just released back in March, I think it was, an AI avatar where you can send it out at scale, super personalized. And I have my pros and cons of AI these days as far as avatars and pretending to be human and those type of things. So we dug into that. And he talked about the line of where AI should be used and where the human needs to be involved, which I think is a really important conversation. He also talked about, from a hiring standpoint, what he looks for and how curiosity is the key factor here. And I think I violently agree with him that you have to be curious right now. You have to be willing to try new things and you have to evolve or else you're going to get run over by this stuff. But he has a very optimistic view of the future as it relates to sales and AI and everything else. So I think you'll get a lot out of this one. I really enjoyed this conversation. So hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Let's make it happen. Jonathan Lister, welcome to the Make It Happen Monday podcast, my friend. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm super excited to be here. Longtime fan of selling, of course, and longtime fan of the show and you. So, yeah, man, thrilled to be here.
Appreciate it. Likewise, my friend. I've been a longtime fan of Vidyard and looking forward to seeing where you guys are going in the future because I've kind of, I haven't been paying all that much attention for the past maybe year or so. And I know you've done a lot of cool stuff in the past year. So we'll get into that stuff. But like I start all these podcasts with, give us your origin story, my friend. Growing up, where'd you grow up? How'd you catch the bug of being an entrepreneur in sales and all that fun stuff so people get a little bit of context on you?
I grew up in Toronto, in Canada, Toronto native, Canadian native. Come from a family of three, grew up kind of in a working class neighborhood. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a teacher too.
No way, really? Cool.
Yeah. As a result, I was taught independence at an early age. If I wanted something, I had to pay for it. I didn't get nothing handed to me. And so I would put money that I've had more jobs, certainly before the age of, 21 than almost anybody else. I had a constant stream of jobs, constant working. Some of those were entrepreneurial, but lots weren't. They were just, look, I needed to make money. So I did what I could to make money. Tons and tons of jobs all the way through like high school from a very early age, right through to college, put myself through college. And that kind of just led to, an independent streak. And, I didn't actually start out as a seller. My first sort of professional job was actually as an editor in university. I was a textbook editor. And I had
that sounds fun.
Very exactly, right? Couldn't be worried, but I had a very kind and interesting, compassionate sort of mentor who was the publisher. And she came to me one day and she said, you know what, Jonathan, you probably would make a great salesperson. And that was like the greatest sort of piece of criticism, backhanded or helpful piece of criticism. I don't know if she was saying you're a terrible editor or actually would be. But that's really what led me to kind of consider sales. I started selling for that press, that publishing company. And that led to a career in sales. And, I'll end this by saying, look, I've spent now 25 years in B2B tech go-to-market sales. And I characterize my entire career as trying to sort of give sales a better reputation, but frankly, just help create more value. Like from the very early days, I was a high street seller, knocking on doors, carrying a bag, and I was, like there has to be a better way. I spent my career trying to create that better way for sellers, but really for buyers, right? How do we create a better buying experience? So I know we'll get into that, but that's really like how I define my career. It's why I've worked at the companies that I've worked at. And they're all companies that, create better buying experiences and create tons of value for buyers.
What do you like? So when you joined Vidyard, why did you join Vidyard? Yeah, a lot of people. I always ask people like, not how long have you worked here, but like, why'd you choose, right? And there's a lot of different reasons. Why'd you choose
Well,
Vidyard? Just out of
love that
curiosity.
question. I love that question because I get asked that question a lot, and I also mentor and try to
Yep.
help lots of sellers. I'm at an age where I don't know.
Yeah,
Again, I think
everyone
I
play
find
bears, right?
having lots of these conversations. Um, yeah, very thoughtfully. So I'd worked at Google. I'd worked at LinkedIn for a long time. I ran Sales Navigator for a number of years. After that, I really wanted to do something different. Number one, I wanted to build something. So I wanted to go back to kind of building. I had built businesses and products kind of earlier on in my career. But mostly, I wanted a product that users loved. I wanted a product that the end user really loved. Of course, I wanted a great company, great leadership team, and all that stuff. But we started with the product. Was the product great? Was the product something users really got excited about, and therefore we could build a business around? And the story of Vidyard, with video messaging, there is an interesting company and product in that there are rabid fans. There are like people who just cannot get enough of using this tool. And for me, that was really like the cornerstone. From this, like we can create a great company. Already was a good company, great company. Like we can create a great long-term business out of, a product like this that users love. And if you think about it, it's less about the company. For me, you don't have to be incredibly bright or incredibly insightful to realize that video is going to play, a massive role in business, but in selling and buying going forward. I mean, just demographics alone will tell you like video is going to play a much different role 2 years, 4 years, whatever it looks like, it's going to play a much larger role. And so we're still in the early innings, early stages, and I think it's fascinating. But that's largely the reason I joined.
I like it. Yeah, as I always tell reps, in order to be successful in sales, you got to believe in what you sell, right? If you don't believe in it, don't do it.
It's going to be hard. And in
Yeah.
B2B, look, I've been in B2B my whole career. It's it's harder to find B2B products that users love. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about like what are those products that, and there are lots of products that users love. This meant a lot to me, and for me, you're right. I'm passionate about it, and I'm personally passionate about it because I think it's going to play a big role in sort of the workplace and how people do business going forward.
Small sidebar here on your role at Vidyard, COO. So the audience here listening is probably 50-60% individual contributors, right? And what I'm trying to do is, in a lot of ways, is up business acumen and help them talk to the different roles. Could you just enlighten us a little bit on kind of what your role looks like as COO of Vidyard versus like a VP of sales versus that type of stuff?
It's a great question. There are multiple kinds of COOs. They're basically got three kinds of COOs, right? There are product COOs, there are administrative COOs, and there are go-to-market COOs. I'm the third. I'm a go-to-market COO. I run selling, marketing, customer success. That all rolls to me. We're a 180-person company. So that's the kind of size of our business, but I run all sales, marketing, customer success. And so, this is relevant because I'm a buyer for,
Right.
I get like many people, I get tons of outreach trying to sell me products. And so I have a fascinating role. I have for a long time, but it's very meta, right? Where I get to sell a product that is designed for sellers to help them sell better. But I'm also a buyer. And so when I'm talking to my team and I'm talking to my customers, I have the wealth of experience of being a buyer of lots of different products, hearing lots of process, lots of approaches, seeing products, as well as, being in market, selling my own sales product to sellers to help them sell better.
What was the last time somebody reached out to you to sell you something and you actually responded and it led to, it doesn't even have to lead to a sale, but where you got that outreach and you were like, shit, I'll respond to this, because I think there's a perception that executives don't respond to anything out there these days and, why even bother? But I'm curious if you can think of a time where
that actually led to a purchase.
That doesn't have to lead to a purchase. That something caught your attention, like a prospecting, anything.
Let me start with response. First of all, I'm probably a little bit different. I'll respond to people for a variety of reasons. I'll respond to sometimes people who are really bad. And I'll say, look, this was really terrible. Let me help you. Like, do you want me to help you? If you want me to help you, I'll give you a couple tips. So I've done that as recently as right before the holidays, a month ago. Some guy reached out and he had this pitch and I was like, dude, that's just it could be great. It's so close to being great, but it's kind of terrible. So, like this, and so I'll do that sometimes. I won't respond to anything that's generic or, just, whatever, like a placeholders and all that, which you get, that's 30 to 40% of what I get. What I especially respond to and what I coach my team on responding to is some kind of referral, right? It's like, this person said this about you and it made me think of you, or we have this person in common. I talked to them about you. Like that, by the way, especially, the superpower is someone inside your company. Someone inside your company thought you might be interested in this thing. And ideally, you've copied them on it, but if not, like you're at least referring that person in common. Like that internal referral is a super juice, the superpower.
Yeah.
So respond to those like 100% that.
Yeah, I think that still holds true, right? The internal referral, I think, because it's coming from a trusted source. And what we're trying to do is get reps to build their brand in a way that they're almost a trusted source when they do reach out to this. So there's some familiarity to it, but the referral from somebody else is usually the easiest way to go.
Well, but it's also like the thing for a sales rep, like that establishes, it raises the bar for them. If I'm a salesperson, like it puts my reputation on the line.
Yeah.
That I'm willing, that I've gone and found somebody, their reputation's on the line, my reputation's on the line. Like we created this, like there's a real bond around trust if you get really good referral.
And that's what I hate about LinkedIn these days is like, I don't know about you, but I can't tell you how many people I get. People, hey, John, I see you're one connected to so-and-so. Could you make the intro? I'm like, no, like I'm not going to put my reputation. I don't know you. Like you could be an axe murderer for all I know. Like I'm not going to put my name on you. You out of your mind?
Yeah, just because it's easy doesn't mean you should do it. I mean, I worked at LinkedIn for a long time. We had, internally, look, my bar was always like, unless I know you well enough to refer you, I'm not going to do that. Right. I'm not going to you. Kind of the same as in real life, right? It's not that different.
Repetition matters. So let's talk into video here because we're in such an interesting spot, man. Like I did right before the holidays, I did a Hey Jen video of me, like that just was like and with very limited, information. I was like, click. And then I spoke perfect Spanish. I spoke, Japanese, and it looked like I was doing it. And I know that Vidyard just released their avatar piece of this. Okay.
Yeah.
I need your help with the line between reality and AI at this point, when it comes to authenticity, when it comes to client engagement and those type of things. So let's start with your kind of overall philosophy or approach of using AI in the sales process and where that ends and where the human begins, regardless of Vidyard as like what you sell. But help me understand, like, where's your thoughts on the AI version of me versus me?
Sure. But can I start with like the problem we're trying to solve? Like the reason, we didn't, so Vidyard came out with AI avatars back in March, and we were ostensibly kind of first to market by design. We wanted to like test it and everyone to kind of, talk to prospects and customers about use cases and design around use cases. But I said, look, the problem we were trying to solve is the problem you were familiar with, everyone on the call is familiar. Like buying and selling is fundamentally broken. And it's gotten more broken certainly as the economy got harder, it got more broken. Like you all know these issues, like outreach is harder, standing out is harder. By the way, it's as hard to buy as it is to sell. Buyers have to sell internally. They don't want to talk to reps. They wish automation. So all this, the buying and selling is not working particularly well. And, we spend a lot of time thinking about like, how does AI, and in our case, video, but how does AI and video help create personalization at scale? And I know personalization at scale is this sort of loaded term that people have thrown around for a long time. It's been loaded. And again, I started by saying like my objective for my career for years and years and years has been to create more value and to help sellers become better sellers and to help create effectively like give sales a better reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Personalization scale plays a large role in that. Like technology so far largely, has kind of hasn't fulfilled that promise because it's largely mostly gone to quantity. Like we use technology to drive more quantities. We haven't really used technology to drive better quality or even the same quality at scale. Our view is that AI will start to allow us to do that. And if you want, it'll start to allow the capability of personalization at scale. So the problem is, buying and selling is broken. Our view is that AI and video can start to help solve that problem through personalization at scale. And maybe the easiest way to think about this, if you're on this call, my view is that we can start to make average sellers perform more like top performers through the use of avatars. And this will get to your question. This will get to like the line between in real life, the line between human recorded videos versus AI. But you start with like, how do I want to create value? Like, what do I do for a living? Like, how do I create value? Everyone's got a different sales cycle, different customer set. So you got to start with like, I want to create more value for my prospects, my customers. Now, I have to do it at scale because, I've got BDRs and salespeople who have hundreds of prospects and potentially thousands of contacts, and the same thing for account managers, right? So how do you manage an account base when you've got 80 customers and dozens and dozens of contacts? Well, you can't do it. You can't do a good job doing it in person. You can't do a good job of doing it, all analog or all yourself subscale.
Right.
So the view is like, this is a product that helps you do this at scale, done the right way. Avatars, and you think about this, there are lots of use cases. There are prospecting use cases, there are nurturing use cases, there are deal closing use cases where it's a really great complement to the sales cycle, right? I wish I could talk to like 30 contacts at a company. I can only talk to 2 of them, but I can complement that with avatars that go out to the rest of them that either repeat the story or share a thing or do a feature update or, XYZ, right? So all those things are, I think that you've got to think through how you want to use it within your sales cycle and your, the way you use the way you want to create value for your customer set. And when you have that, then that will start to tell you which parts of your sales cycle should be done in person, which parts of your sales cycle will be done using other mediums, and where video plays, the perfect role. Like we know video performs better. You just got to deploy it in the right places.
So where is it? You said done the right way, right? Where are some common use cases where you don't think it's appropriate?
Well, I think those high value moments, like you're not going to use avatars in a high value moment, at least not yet. Like when, again, those mean different things to different people, but when, there's a moment that you have to spend a fair bit of time convincing somebody of something and getting to a specific. Sure. So I would say broadly the high value moments right now, we're seeing it being used successfully in outreach, like getting attention, getting response rates. So right now, response rates on avatars aren't that different than response rates on recorded videos.
Mm-hmm.
But scale is dramatically different, and so we're getting like those kinds of outcomes. Like outreach. Think about things like, one of the biggest things we hear from BDRs is like no shows at meetings, right? So you do like meeting reminders. You do avatar meeting reminders. You can do this at scale. Super easy to do. Meeting confirmation, right? Yep. And we can plug these into workflows so they're trigger based. So those things work really well. I would say it's mostly like, again, these like high value moments where you'd want to either be in person or you'd want to be like, across the VC.
So where's the line for you then? Let's go back to that, reality versus the avatar piece and say, because my take on this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, is, if I know it's an avatar, if I know it's AIs, and here's the example, remember Drift, right? Remember Drift came out with the chatbots, right? So when the chatbots first came out, actually even before Drift, they were very, they were super responsive, right? So I'd be on a website and be like, holy shit, this is like the most responsive customer service person I've ever come across. But after like the 3rd or 4th chat, it was like, wait a minute, this isn't a person, right? And then for me, at least, and a lot of people I know, that just feeling pseudo duped made the experience, devalued the experience to me. But then Drift came out and said, hey, we're a chatbot. Like this, we're a robot. I just want to let you know. So let's engage. And then once you get to a point where you need a human, I'll hand you over to human. Then the experience was fantastic. Yeah. I do the same thing on videos. If I see a video and I sniff that it's pretending to be real, right? Like a lot of these TikTok videos and all these influencers are putting this stuff out there, and I sniff that it's real. Or I'm sorry, it presents itself that it's real, but then I sniff that it's AI. I don't care what they're saying in that video. I'm like, never mind, see you later. And I know that's just me, but I do also know it's a lot of other people. So what's your thought process on the dupe factor, right? Like pretending it's actually a human versus an AI bot?
Yeah, I break this down a little bit. Like what I really care about, what we really care about is, first of all, privacy. We want to make sure that we're not contributing to privacy implications. And so the way we've built the product is first of all, the product is, is a likeness of the seller. It's a likeness of an individual. Like it's not your likeness that I'm purporting that I'm using. And so we've built in sort of security, and sort of, that's built into the product feature. Your question though, look, first of all, it's super fascinating. I love building new products. We're the vanguard of like a new, clearly like a new era in communication. I don't have the answer. What I know is that when I talk to customers, they all feel differently. Some feel like you, some care less, and I've been a little bit surprised about who cares about presenting the product, or presenting as a human versus an avatar. I'm working with like fairly traditional, fin-serve companies who what they care about is frankly like digitizing or helping their sales team become more digital. And they've got like an older, more mature sales force, and they really want them to adopt this. They don't seem to care as much. Others do, and I think, look, the answer is going to come through in the response rates. The answer is going to come through in like
That's what I was going to ask you.
Do customers and do buyers respond or do they not respond? That will tell us a lot. We're not building the product one way or the other. We're letting customers decide how they want to use it. They want to identify this as an avatar, and look, some of this is also just common sense. Like maybe in outreach, I'm a BDR. I don't care as much because the bar for quality is a little bit lower. If it's my customer base, and certainly if it's the first time I'm talking to my customer using an avatar, sure, I want to let them know, hey, this is my avatar. The last thing I'll say on this is like, you probably know this from like lots of change cycles, is like humans adapt fairly quickly to change. If it's a change that is beneficial, change or they believe is beneficial, right? And so we'll see if that happens here. We'll see how stuck on people, needing to know that something, especially in business is different than personal too, right? This is very much context. We're transacting, we're doing a deal. It's not like you aren't dating, and I'm not like important, So I think the business piece potentially is different as well. Commercial piece is different than business piece.
So with this, right? So we talked like clients like it, using it, and they don't care, but from a buyer experience, how have you seen the buyer expectation change? Forget about video for a second, but with where we are right now, especially now we're about 2 years into this chaos of AI, right? Where it just got dumped on everybody and from a real world standpoint. And so I think there's, I've been preaching the book Jolt Effect that talks about indecision, right? Because it's like, there's so much going on and it's moving so fast that I'm just going to throw up my hands. And even though I know I need to make a choice, I'm not going to. So how do you think the buyer's expectations have changed over the course of the past 2 years, and what they expect from sales reps themselves?
Yeah, maybe I can kind of break this down. You asked about AI as well. So there's buyers, I think there's sort of buyer perspectives in general, and buyer perspective to sales, and then there's buyer.
Yeah, let's talk about in general, just from where you see it.
Yeah, someone I know, a wise person once said, like 2010 to 2022 is the golden age for selling. I agree with that. I think that was where a lot of models were created, and a lot of a lot of sort of the superpowers for quantity were created, and people got used to that and all that stuff. The last couple of years have been super interesting. I would characterize the last couple of years as the bar for value went up dramatically, and not just the bar for kind of everything. And so I hate to say it, but I do say it. Like, to me, I think sales cycles today have to be really close to perfect. Your product has to be perfect. Your process has to be perfect. Your personality, the bar is incredibly high. And if I was a seller and I coach my team, like, you've got to think about this all the time. You can't just lob something out there. You really have to think about, like, am I presenting in the right kind of way? Buyer, again, like, the commercial bar is higher, so they're, but the bar for product quality is super high. But the thing I've noticed too in the last couple of years is like also implementation. Like, people got burned, and customers got burned on implementing projects and programs come out like a year later, and they don't even know the cost of that. Like, the actual cost, the hard cost and soft cost of like dropping something in and ripping it out 18 months, massive. So I would say there's some a little bit of PTSD around not just buying, but the implementation. So you've got to not just make that bar higher, but you've got to make your implementation like dead easy. And if you have a product that's like hard to implement or heavy, you got to really think about like how what's this going to look like going forward, because there's products that are much easier to replace, commercial models that are like, easy to transact on. Those things are getting more and more attention. So that those bars have all gone up, and you got to train your sales team to
well, and that's actually part of the reason of, and it sounds like you've read Jolt Effect, right? I don't necessarily know if I love their answer to the problem, but they nail the problem. And that's that thing. It's like, yeah, I've committed. Now I know I need to make a change. But now, as soon as I make that commitment, every bad decision, every bad implementation is rushing into my head. So one of the things about Jolt Effect, it talks about, oh, well, de-risk it, right? By money back guarantees and those. I'm like, reps don't have access. Like, they can't do that. So how would you de-risk an implementation to a skeptical buyer who's been through some pain before and knows they like, hey, I want to jump into this AI world here, but they're about to make a bigger investment. What can you do to de-risk that situation for them?
I don't know if I have a generic answer, but like, we're in the new product business. We're in the early stages of building a category, right? And so like we want customers to trial the products. We do a lot of work around trials. And I get like some reps can do that, some reps can't. But I would actually reframe this a little bit. Like, I understand the de-risking. You have to de-risk where you can. So every company has to think about how to de-risk. But like, it's still true, and it's, in my opinion, still more important that the value creates really kind of like the value to risk, right? It's the upside to downside. And so you got to present your best case for upside. And again, we're in a new product, new category. So we think a lot about how to create that upside. Like, where are the play. This is why I say when we launched the product, we thought about like, let's go to customers and find the use cases that create the most value the first, and let's build a product to like, work and create value in those use cases. So we have this like really compelling productivity story.
So I'll push back a little bit, because I don't necessarily know if people believe in the future anymore, right? Because it's been so fucked up. So there's that whole idea of like the impact of the problem that you're facing right now compared to the ROI of what I could show to you in the future. So how do you balance that?
Well, it is a balance. And I don't know that I have a great answer, but I know that in our case, we are, we believe passionately that AI, that one video and two AI video is going to play a much more meaningful role. And so a lot of our conversations are with the C-suite around like, tell us, let's talk about where your business is going to be 2 years from now. Let's talk about your business, because we're really designing for that. Like, what role is AI and video going to play in your business 2 years from now? And we want to build to that moment, right?
Can you look out 2 years? Like real question. With how fast things are moving right now, can you as a COO look out 2 years and have confidence in where things are going to be?
Well, it's really clear. We got to prove value every step of the way. I'm not saying we're not going to prove value for 2 years. I'm saying let's design for let's design for a 10x productivity improvement and kind of work backwards from there. Right. So we want to prove value today, the first 30 days, first 6 months, and we're a SaaS product. So we're, this is the way we're
well, and I'm going to go like just with you personally, like for Vidyard yourself as the COO, I maybe 6 months out, I can kind of like this year, I think I got my hands around what's going to happen this year, whatever it is. But I look at 2 years from now and how fast this AI stuff is moving and learning. And then you see the compound stuff with, Google's new chip and all these different things. It's like, holy shit, this stuff is moving at a clip that I couldn't honestly give you any predictions for what's going to happen 2 years from now. So how do you look at the future without really knowing? Because I think that's where we're at right now. We're in a broken model. Everybody knows the predictable revenue models just grow. We're all living in a legacy model, period. We're all transitioning to this new one. We just have no idea what this new one is. So how do you bridge that gap?
Totally. Look, I picked 2 years somewhat arbitrarily, but the point is, it's not like 30 days from now. And if you're a CIO or you're certainly a CEO, but even a CRO, you're not thinking about next quarter's done, 2 quarters out. You've got to be planning for a year out. And so that's the design principle is really what role is AI going to play in your business, again, 2 years or a year from now? Not because there isn't a scenario where it's not playing a role. We just need to figure out what that role is and what you want it to be, right? We play in the application layer. And so we have a product that's off the shelf in the application layer that we can deploy today. And the question is what do you think your sales team is going to need? What sales behaviors are you trying to change? What problems do you have that are going to be persistent for the next year? And those conversations are resonating, right? Yeah. There's zero C-suite who aren't thinking this through pretty deeply.
Well, if they aren't, I think they're already irrelevant. But so with that, from a business standpoint, from a rep, what are some of the recommendations you give to reps right now? Because I do think, there's two pieces, right? One is the company. I think there is honestly, there's a lot of nervousness out there from a sales standpoint of what's going to happen. Where's my job going to go? Because there is a genuine argument to be had for rip and replace. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? We got ourselves into this mess. Let's burn this down. Let's start with AI native reps and AI native tech, and let's go. I'm not saying that's the right answer. I'm just saying there's an argument to have for it.
There is. Yes. Agreed.
So and then there's the rep who's like, some of them are all in on this stuff, and I'm seeing them leapfrog reps who've been in the industry for 20 years using this stuff, right? But then there's the ones who are kind of like, so what recommendations you have for reps right now to say, hey, like, how do you, I don't want to say future-proof yourself because you can't ever future-proof yourself, but what should reps be focusing on right now as it relates to AI, understanding sales fundamentals and those type of things?
Yeah.
Where does the sales rep fall in this equation? What can they do to prepare?
For sure. I mean, I think one point in this conversation I said, like we believe that AI and AI video, can give the average rep the ability to become, a top performing rep. So I would like taking that perspective. One of the things we've observed too, you asked about sort of landscape, is like it's fewer and fewer reps are hitting quota. Like it's harder to hit quota. Or another way to say it is like a fewer percentage of reps are carrying like a greater percentage of the revenue for organizations, right? And so there's this real, if I'm a rep, man, it's harder than ever to be in that top portion. But I really want, if I'm there, I've got an outsized chance of being noticed, getting recognized, getting promoted, getting the dollars, all that stuff. And so I'm focused on the cohort of reps who want to get into that top cohort. And I know you've talked about this, and I fundamentally agree. There are these sort of eagle sales reps, like they're kind of unique. We're not trying to like. They're kind of in their own category. They're the top very small percentage. What I think that AI can do is call it the top kind of the second quartile, basically the chance to get into the top quartile or the top decile. Yep. Right. And so if I'm a seller, that's the way I want to think about this: is what do I need to do to get into that top decile? And to me, like more broadly, the answer is you've got to be more curious than ever. You've got to be trying. This has been true for a long time, so this is not like new news, but it's more resonance with AI. You've got to be trying everything. You've got to be trying it sort of even if your company doesn't use the product, you've got to be trying it. This is your profession. And assuming you're in that sort of that second quartile, that means you're like, this is your career. Like you want this to be your career. You're building a long-term book of business. You're building your reputation. You've got to be trying these AI tools. You've got to be building your process. You've got to be trying to create value with them. You've got to be experimenting with them. And that's what I would do. And I think that using them in those lower risk opportunities initially, so you can like test and learn. Like so much of this is about reps, right? Like just meaning getting repetition, right? Like do something. If it doesn't, like these things have a learning curve, right? Like you're not going to get it right the first time, the second time, the third time. You have to stick with it. You have to get reps, whether it's using ChatGPT and all the prompt stuff or any of these AI tools, right? You really have to be like just leaning in, getting reps, getting repetitions, using them in like all these scenarios with real clients, with real live clients. You'll whiff on some of them, and some you'll learn, and those learnings you pack away and you build on them. And I think if we do that, I do not know what happens sort of 2 years out. I have no idea. But I can say with like some relatively high degree of conviction that those reps who figured this out and create like a great complement to their behaviors today will move into that sort of higher performing quartile decile, right? But you've got to be trying these things. You cannot be like not curious, not passionate, and you've got to do it with the view of creating value for your prospects and customers.
I think that's where the AI stuff, I think the line for me is, it's actually, if you are curious, it's one of the best tools you've ever come across, because it just feeds your curiosity. You just keep going down. Now, the reps who are looking for it as the answer, like to give them the answer, right? Write the perfect email for me, whatever it is. I think that's a fool's errand. But if you're looking for it for business acumen, education, and curiosity, this stuff is gas on a fire right now. And like my business acumen has gone from here to here just simply because I can click a button now and know everything about you and scan it in 5 seconds and be like, okay, cool. Now I know what their business is doing, what their prompts, all these different things. And I can now use that information as the last mile when we have the conversation. So those are the reps that I'm seeing excel, are, to your point, the curious ones. But let me ask you this on that. Do you think curiosity can be taught?
Broadly, no. Like you got to hire for curiosity. It's one of the things when I hire for, like, I hire for passion, I hire for curiosity, I hire for energy. I hire for compassion, energy, curiosity. Like those are the things.
Compassion.
Meaning
How do you?
the interest and the willingness to help. Right.
Okay, nice. How do you pull that out of an interview?
Behavioral questions like tell me about a time like tell me an engagement you have with the customer where they had a problem and you solved the problem. The answer to that question will sound either like I sold them something or I really dug in and understood what they were going through and how my product could help them, and it'll be much more closely mapped to like a solution. That's compassion, right? That's like I understand you have a problem and I really care about it and I can solve it for you.
So how do you break a rep from that barrier? Because I think what you hit on here is what I firmly believe in, which is forget about what I'm selling here. As a sales professional, I'm a problem solver, period. And my goal is to figure out what your problem is. And if I got something that can actually solve that problem, then we're going to talk about it. But if I don't, I'm probably going to refer you to somebody else or like, because of that root problem.
Yeah, right. I mean, the cost is, I'm going to say no as quickly as I can. We're going to move on. Right?
Yeah. So how do you break? Because reps are we're still in this like, monthly quotas, quarterly stuff. We got to get things done. And so the problem solving is a challenge when a rep sees an opportunity that like looks like a duck, smells like a duck. Let me go sell my duck. But there might be a root cause to that issue that this is just lipstick on a pig right here, but I'm going to sell this lipstick because that's where I get my commissions. How do you help your team and coach your team on breaking through that barrier of don't just try to think of selling Vidyard here, try to think of solving the problem?
I mean, it's an ongoing sort of process. It's built into our training. Like we are all, it goes back to like value. We want to find the customers who have the biggest problems that we can solve. So one is sort of, it's account identification, which we've spent a fair bit of time doing in our RevOps team, finding the right kind of prospects and accounts who have these problems and line them up. When a sales rep has a book, you get A accounts, B accounts, like it's always the case, right? And so there are always going to be accounts that they're just not a great fit. And your job is then, so the A accounts and the B accounts, probably really easy to figure out. They have a problem. We can solve the problem. We're a good match. Like organize your account that way, prioritize your time. I'm a big fan of prioritization too. Like reps who come to me and like, if they haven't prioritized their book, we're going to start there. We're going to start with like, what's the 80-20, all that stuff. Those C accounts though, look, some you're going to try and some you're going to say no to. And there's a good number of those C accounts you're way better off saying no to and spending the time on the B and A accounts. And you've got to figure that out. But you can't just there's grit and then there's like, banging your head against the wall against the deal. And you got to figure out the difference, right? And that can be coached. I think a fair bit of that, like how to recognize something that is a high quality or higher quality opportunity, a lower one, that can be coached.
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying. Because again, we've gotten into this world of just the average, the golden age of sales of just everything was so easy. And it was just like I could show up and run my demo and, people would buy it and I could offer a massive discount and everybody's happy, right? That type of thing. And now it's just, if I'm not getting value out of this conversation's over. It's over. And I think that's my piece on 2025 is I think 2025 is the year that the no value conversation of not even conversation, the no value interaction between sales and customer is over. Because when I can get more value out of going into ChatGPT and asking it questions about your business than I can get out of a sales rep, what's the point of talking to the sales rep?
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things we've done with avatars, and again, we don't prescribe, we build the product, we build the platform and people to create the content. One of the things we did though, like the average recorded video time on Vidyard is about a minute. And so when we created avatars, we created them it's actually a character limit, but it's about a minute. And that forces this really interesting being concise and ideally accuracy. And so we're seeing messages go out with a high, because you only have a minute. And so you've got to be, in order to get a response rate, you've got to be concise, you've got to be accurate. So I think, especially when you combine this, by the way, with, right now we're doing like keyword replace on scripts. You can customize them. We're playing around with actually auto-generated, AI-generated scripts. But when you can pull in, firmographic data and create really high-quality scripts, you'll get to like very concise messages in AI and Avatar, likely more concise than reps do on the fly. And so I think you're right about like one of the problems we're trying to solve is that buyers don't want to talk to a rep, but when they do talk to a rep, they want that rep to tell them something really important, really fast. And so this medium both allows for that and the technology allows for it.
And hopefully it allows for the rep to be able, so that's the funny thing. Like I've seen reps right now, do you have your own, as Vidyard as a business, do you have your own like chatbot internally that reps can ask questions about Vidyard for like to help them sell, for instance? Because I'm seeing some companies like have their own LLM on their own system. So when the client, because I don't think the answer of, hey, I don't know that answer, let me get back to you is valid anymore. It's okay, let me light this up. And actually, I don't know, but here's 2 seconds. Do your reps use it that way, or do you have that?
Yep. Yeah, you're right. I think there's a dynamic piece to this. And that's why I think, look, avatars play a really interesting complement in the sales cycle right now because, they're structured, you create it and you send it. So they're not dynamic or they're not like two-way. But it allows for that very concise and accurate information up front. But yeah, you've got to complement it with like, when you have those moments, those higher value moments, when you're getting a question, you've got to be able to answer on the spot.
So there's a lot of, doom and gloom. People, could talk about where things are going. What are you most optimistic about, I think, or most excited about moving forward here as it relates to AI integration in sales and the elevation of the profession? Because you and I are both on the same page. That's actually my why, is to elevate the people and profession of sales here. So what are you most excited about or think that's going to be the biggest impact?
Look, I remain very excited about video. I remain excited about AI. But what I like is, like, I use the product myself all the time. And I'm not the ICP, but every C-suite, every executive gets asked to do videos. Sometimes they're internal, sometimes direct. And honestly, for people who are above a certain age, videos historically have been like the horror moment. Like, I know people who set aside like a half a day on Friday to do their videos, right? And it's like, because you backload the week, and then there's all this pressure to do these videos, and they bring in the lights and the whatever, and it's like a huge thing. This, what it's worth, like that all went away. And so I do all the time. I've sent 3 or 4 avatars today, simple to record. So it really is, one, it's a pretty interesting game changer. So it's sort of changed the way that I work, which is interesting. But I've seen the side of like the high quality, like the happy side of this. I've seen like customers and prospects be like thrilled with the response. Like there's a real penny drop moment when these work, right? When it works for you as a seller and it works for you as a buyer, and it's really interesting to see, right? So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what I think we can accomplish with videos. I'm excited about like what I think this can do for sellers. Like what I think, again, moving sellers from that second quartile to that top decile. Look, I'm optimistic. I'm excited. I'm also like I like to build things, and so this is like if you step back and you zoom way out, we are at this incredible moment in time. And I'm of a certain age where I've been through, 4 or 5 of these, everything from the
internet,
like browser, to, mobile, search, cloud, all that stuff. And this is fascinating. This is like an incredible. And so I like some of it. I just love to step back and look at like what we're trying to do. We're trying to create the value. I think we can create like just, the good we can do, and like we're trying to do good. And I say that like full light of day and everything else. Like, I think there's a lot that we can do that's really exciting and really good. We have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. And I think to your point, it's the ones that I have my whole talk track of 10, 60, 30, right? 10% of you, like those are the Eagles, right? They're going to be the ones you don't even have to worry about them. The 60%, you're going to do something different because it's easy to make sense. And 30%, you're going to do shit different. But it's that top end of that 60%, the ones who are willing to get after it, they're willing to put in the work, they're willing to try things and test and fail and screw up and whoever. Those are the ones that I think are going to be like help to move up to that next stage. Unfortunately for me, I think that the bottom end of that 50% is in a lot of trouble, and that 30% is already irrelevant. So the question is what can you do as a seller to move yourself into the position where you want to get better? And I think to your point, it goes back to just the drive, the passion, the compassion, and those type of things. If you have that, you're going to survive and you're going to thrive, quite frankly. But if you don't have the curiosity, if you don't have the drive, if you don't have those things, this stuff's coming to run you over pretty damn quick.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for those who want to, this really can be a superpower. I'm seeing it on my own team. I'm seeing it in the customers who've tried it. Like it really can be. And I agree, it'll be challenging for not just sales, for lots of functions, the bottom, again, quartile or whatever it is, those folks who don't want to be there, who isn't their like passion. Look, it's going to be challenging. And I think it'll be like super exciting for those who lean in, who want it, who are willing to take chances and, kind of embrace it and frankly have some fun with it too. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff is it is fun. So.
Well, that's the thing that you brought up an interesting point. I think we have lost the fun of sales. Like it's like people think it's like this chore and this thing. It's like, no, sales is actually like, if you're really solving real problems and you're playing around with cool stuff, sales should be to a certain degree relatively fun. But everybody's got this stress and holy shit and doomsday stuff. It's like, no. We got to get back to enjoying and having passion for this.
Like, I also think getting back to like the right balance of in real life, whether it's like, trade shows or conferences or sales, whatever else, is super helpful. I mean, we had the right balance of those. Like, there was a time, by the way, when we had way too many of those, like too much to help be efficient. We need to get to a place where, again, we have the right balance of like, great technology and great AI and great AI avatars, and you balance it out with like, there's really important times to do an EBR, or it's really important to do a course, right? So don't forget about the balance.
Well, the in real life thing, that's actually a big fear that I have, especially after COVID, is you got a whole group of sales professionals who have grown up in a virtual world, then they've moved right into a virtual world, and the ability to actually connect with people is just not there. You go to an event and they're like super awkward and they don't know how to carry a conversation. It's like, whoa. Go to a couple events every night. I don't care if it's not even in your industry. Just go learn how to talk to people, because this is a fake environment at the end of the day. I mean, this is a digital representation of you. I can't really read your body language, those type of things, but in person, I mean, that's where I know I learned. Like at networking events, I would come in hardcore and shake my hand, start pitching you, and I'd watch you be like, all right, dude, I'm out of here, right? And I'd feel that. And I think feeling that is necessary so that when you can come on a conversation, like you know what's happening.
No, I agree. I don't know that I've seen it be as much of a challenge. It may be the world I'm looking at, but we do lots of in real life calling with sellers, and I think for the most part, they want to be, calling in real life, and we're just trying to do it in the right way, or sort of in the right cadence. But it could be true. There could be a whole cohort of folks for whom that's maybe slightly different. But I think it'll, again, I'm a huge proponent of the role that video will play. So I know that video is going to play a much bigger role in the sales cycle. But like, when I was earlier in my career, same kind of thing. We did things like Toastmasters and whatever else to kind of learn to speak and and I think that's still critical, right? Like, you still have to find ways to do this. I mean, we do a lot of like, coaching, and we do a lot of role playing, but like, and when you do role playing, by the way, don't do the fake kind of bullshit role playing. Like, do the hardcore role playing, really painful role playing. Make it as hard as possible. Make it harder than any sales call. And we try to do that. And I think that helps folks get into like their position to do stuff in real life.
Cool. Last question. I'm going to start to introduce these into my podcast moving forward here, because I think we learn far more from our failures than our successes. So what's one of your biggest kind of what you would consider quote unquote failure that you learned the most from throughout your career?
Yeah. I'll use one that I think people talk a lot about. There's a lot of burnout, and that's sort of juxtaposed against, do people have grit or they do not have grit or whatever it is. But like there was a time in my life when I actually quit a job because I felt like, I guess I was feeling burnout, but I was probably feeling like I was a little bit of like under attack. There was too much going on. It felt really personal. I actually quit a job. And I thought, I've never forgotten that. I think about it like many days. And what I've learned from that is I taught myself post that, really, that like none of these things were personal. That, this was we're solving business problems, and you need to, like, in those moments when things feel personal, you got to pull back and really think about like the business question at hand. And I think like I do that many, many days, because, like to your point, things seem like they're going faster and faster than ever. There's more and more pressure to get things done. It's not personal, right? We are trying to solve business problems together. In my case, I've got a great team. We're all pulling together. We're trying to, and so there's moments when things feel personal, pull back, assess the kind of where you are, realize or think about like the business, like problem you're trying to solve, and really try to turn it back to business. And I found that's like incredibly helpful. I regret that moment, and I've learned from it ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, the success is okay, fine, but man, the amount of failures I got lined up right now, I've learned a lot. So I think having the perspective of patience, not personal, those type of things are key for people, because I think a lot of people do take things a lot, to your point, very personal in business. And sometimes it really just isn't. It is business. If you look at the NBA, you look at the NFL, you hear that all the time. You got players who everybody loves, and it's like, sorry, man, that guy's got to go because we need to fill it with a better slot. And then they always say, look, you got to remember this is a business. Yeah. And that's what it is.
It's part of why it sort of led me to what I said about sort of compassion and really kind of thinking about like the problems that people are having day to day and sitting across the table from somebody, right? Like a customer or a prospect, like really thinking through like what kind of day are they having? Like they could be having the worst possible day. And I'm coming in with this like, if I don't get this right, it's going to be so tone deaf, and they're having this terrible, how do I hold that? So really working hard, like understand the place that people are in. And if they have a problem, like help them solve the problem. Like, stop a meeting and make sure you're like going in the right direction and helping somebody solve a problem.
Yeah, I call it the give a shit factor, man. It's as simple as that. It's like, do you care?
Yeah.
And I mean that, like, do you care about me as like a person of my problems, or do you just care about selling something? Because if you care about selling something, I can smell that a million miles away. And, if your product's great and the price, fine. But if I can feel that you actually give a shit about me as a person in my role, and the fact that, my kid threw up this morning and I had to do this and all these other things, and I got a million other things going on right now, that empathy is actually critical. And again, that's a hard thing to teach. Empathy is a really hard thing to teach, but experience, I think, gives you empathy because you've been in enough positions to be like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yes.
But it's something that I think more people need to have. So awesome, man. Well, look, sounds like the future's bright over at Vidyard, and I'm guessing you guys hiring. Like, talk to me about where people can find out more information about you, about Vidyard, and all the fun stuff that you guys are doing.
I mean, Vidyard.com. Like, we post all our jobs. We're hiring actively for a bunch of different roles. Again, you've heard about the kind of people we love to have here, curious, compassionate, energetic, problem solvers. Like, bring it on. We want that stuff like all day long.
Love it, man. Well, hopefully enough people hear that out there, because there are other people going back to believing in what you sell, right? I think if you're in a position where you want to give a shit and you want a cool product and believe in what you sell, Vidyard sounds like a pretty fun place to explore that opportunity.
And you gotta like groundbreaking. You gotta like building new things. You've got to like, building the future and frankly helping people understand where the future is and where we think the particularly go to market and buying and selling is going. And if that's all interesting to you, then yeah, that's a great place.
Awesome, man. Well, I've been a fan. I will continue to be, and hopefully we can do some cool stuff in the future together. But with that, any last words for the audience here before we sign off?
Only last words are like, be curious. I think like, do yourself a favor, like try new products, try these products, help yourself be a better seller, help yourself get in that, top decile. But I think a lot of it's on you. A lot of it's on sellers right now to do that. And everything's available to do it. So get after it.
Exactly. And it's out there for you. Just ChatGPT. The answer's there. Anyways, thanks so much for coming on again. I appreciate it.
Appreciate the work you do. Appreciate the coaching. Appreciate the work you do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And hopefully everybody else enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. And like I always say at the end of all these podcasts here, go out there and make somebody smile today. Because no matter how bad your day is going or how bad you think it went, make somebody smile today. You know you had a good day, and the world needs a lot more of that right now. So thank you all very much, and I will see you on the other side. Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. With your support and our incredible guests, we're one of the top sales podcasts out there right now, and I can't thank you enough. Now, to keep the momentum going, it would mean the world to me if you could go and leave a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform and share some of your favorite episodes with your network. Also, I am super excited to be launching my new newsletter, where I'll be sharing everything I know and everything I'm learning along the way while I'm out there selling every day just like you. Go to jbarrows.com/newsletter to sign up today. Let's all level up and make this happen together.